Welcome to the SOCOM Showdown. SOCOM stands for Special Operations Command, and today we're going to be looking at and comparing three U.S. Army units who fall under SOCOM. Those units are the 75th Ranger Regiment versus Delta Force versus Special Forces. Now, before anybody gives me a bunch of crap, I know Delta Force is not the actual name of the unit. It's just that everybody knows them as Delta Force, and Delta Force literally changes their name so much by the time some of you guys actually watch this video, they might not be called Delta Force anymore, so we're just going to call them Delta Force. Let's get into it. The 75th Ranger Regiment. They were activated in 1974. They have a classification as a Tier 2 unit. Now, I'm sure some of you guys have heard of Tier 1, Tier 2, and Tier 3. Tier 3 is anything that's conventional forces. Tier 2 is sort of known by the public, but they're also kind of secretive. That's Tier 2. And Tier 1 is top secret. Nobody knows who they are. They're not even supposed to exist. The size of the Ranger Regiment: 5 battalions, that's anywhere between 3,500 and 3,700 men. That also includes civilian workers. Civilian workers operate all over the U.S. military. They do things such as logistics. They repair your equipment. They are very important to the success of the whole U.S. Army, especially the 75th Ranger Regiment. And they do have a selection process. It's called RASP, also known as Ranger Selection Process or Program. The thing is this: RASP is not the same as Ranger School. There are people in the 75th Ranger Regiment who do not have Ranger tabs. It's a lot more common than you think. When you go to Ranger School, you go to get your Ranger tab. When you go to RASP, you go to join as a real U.S. Army Ranger. So there is a very big difference. Let's look at the mission capabilities. They're all about airborne and air assault operations, seizing key terrains such as airfields, destroying strategic facilities, capturing or killing enemies of the nation. Now, when you deploy the 75th Ranger Regiment, you are deploying them because you want somebody to get taken out, or you want a whole village to get taken out. They can do hostage search and rescue type missions, but the 75th Ranger Regiment, when you deploy them, they're all about taking action fast. Okay, again, I like to explain them like this. When you want a whole village taken out who's giving issue to like a local embassy who's tied to the United States or our allies, you send them the 75th Ranger Regiment because they are going to absolutely take out the enemy. Now, they do have short deployments. It's anywhere between 3 to 6 months, and they deploy a lot. They deploy a lot because they are needed all over the world, and they get the job done. And again, they only have 35 to 3,700 men. So they are very limited on how long they can actually deploy because they are self-sustainable. They don't need the support of anybody. They can get the job done on their own. And that's pretty much the 75th Ranger Regiment. Let's look at U.S. Army Special Forces, also known as the Green Berets. They were activated in 1952. They also have a classification as Tier 2. This is a little confusing because the Special Forces, they will do top secret missions that no one's ever heard of unless they write a book about it, which they do all the time. But then they also do things that are super public that the U.S. military wants to show the world. This is because this is all on purpose. The U.S. military is not a propaganda machine, but they do need to show the fact that there are really cool jobs out there. And by showing the public what the Green Berets do, that might entice a young kid to want to join the Special Forces. And they also want to show the world that, hey, the Special Forces are out there, so you better watch out. The size of the Special Forces, they have 36 battalions. That's a lot bigger than I bet some of you guys thought. That's anywhere between 14,000 and 25,000 soldiers. That's a lot. Obviously, those are not all Green Berets. That's a lot of support elements, and that's a lot of civilian workers who help the Green Berets. They are stationed all over the world, all right? There are a lot of soldiers who are actual Green Berets, but again, the support element is massive for the Green Berets to get the job done. And of course, they do have a selection process. It just goes by selection. Okay, let's look at their mission capabilities. They're all about special reconnaissance and surveillance in hostile environments, training and development of other state militaries and security forces, support to the counterinsurgency through population engagement and support, counterterrorism operations, sabotage and demolition, and hostage rescue. Essentially, the Special Forces can do it all, but the main purpose of the Special Forces is to train militias and to overthrow governments. Back in 2001, when the United States was attacked on 9/11, The Green Berets were sent to Afghanistan to overthrow the Taliban, and the way that they did that was that they teamed up with the Kurds, they teamed up with the Northern Alliance, and then they helped use their influence to overthrow the Taliban, and then they also trained the Kurds, they trained the Northern Alliance, and that's what the Green Berets are all about. They're all about training and forming militias that one day will hopefully help out the United States. Now, obviously, that's backfired in some instances, but again, that is the main purpose of the Green Berets. Now, again, also, the Green Berets can show their muscle. If there is a city that needs to be taken over and the Green Berets are in town, you better watch out because they can do everything those Rangers can do as well. So the Green Berets, really, they can do it all, but again, they are more about trying to form and create militias to overthrow governments. Now, let's look at Delta Force. Delta Force was activated in 1977. They have a classification as Tier 1. Again, Tier 1, super top secret. In fact, I've even read some articles that state that if a Delta Force soldier dies, the U.S. military does not even give what unit he was in, or even really acknowledge that that person passed away. The size is unknown. When I did some research, it's estimated between 12 to 1,400, and that's because they are a battalion force, and you have to assume that with a battalion, you have anywhere between 700 to 1,000 operators, and then you have the logistics worker who supports them, including civilians. And of course, they also even have their own selection process known as selection. And this process is typically anybody can join. In fact, you can go from 75th Ranger Regiment straight to Delta Force, but you can even go from 82nd Airborne to Delta Force. So you don't have to be necessarily already in Special Forces to go to Delta Force. There are plenty of instances and public soldiers who come out and said, I was never a Green Beret, I went straight to Delta Force. So let's look at their mission capabilities of Delta Force. They're all about direct to kill or capture high value units or dismantle terrorist cells. Delta Force remains extremely flexible and can engage in direct action missions. Again, Delta Force can do everything you can do, but the main reason Delta Force was created was to take out high value targets and to do search and rescue hostage situations. So Delta Force, you know, they can do direct action, but again, if you're an ISIS leader and you're hiding somewhere in Syria or Afghanistan or wherever, they will find you and they will take you out. Sometimes the missions do get leaked publicly, but most of the time you do not know that that even happened. They are very, very top secret. But again, Delta Force is all about pinpoint precision, but they have been known to fight side by side with even people from like the 82nd Airborne from the Tier 3 level, and they've even fought side by side with the 75th Ranger Regiment. You know, they've teamed up. All three of these units, 75th Ranger, Special Forces, and Delta Force, they can do it all. A lot of it just has to do with the manpower, who's available, who's trained on a certain situation that needs to get done. And that's really what it comes down to when it comes down to who needs to select what for what mission. So again, if you need to take out a village, you bring in the 75th Ranger Regiment. If you want to change the minds of the population of that village, and you want to use them to in your advantage to try taking over the village, but you don't have to do any of the work, you call in the Green Berets. If there's one really bad guy in that village who's influencing everybody, you then call in Delta Force to get the job done. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you learned something. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, let me know what you think and what unit you would want to be in. Thank you.